A woman wept on national television. Her fiancé was dead, killed by a stranger. But two accountants knew she was lying. Welcome back to Cold Case Britain. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for watching. New viewers, please subscribe, like and share this video. Your support keeps these stories alive. Lee Raymond Dean Harvey was born in 1971. He grew up in Worcestershire, West Midlands, England. His parents were Ray and Maureen Harvey. He had one sister named Michelle. Lee was a bus driver. He knew the local roads well. At 25 years old, he was engaged. He had dreams of building a family. Those dreams would never be realized. On December 1st, 1996, Lee Harvey died. He was stabbed more than 30 times. Some accounts claim 37 separate wounds. The attack happened on Cooper's Hill. It was a rural lane in Worcestershire. Lee's body was found on the cold tarmac. Blood had sprayed from a severed neck vessel. He bled out on the roadside. Emergency services arrived too late to save him. His fiancée, Tracy Andrews, survived with visible injuries. Tracy Andrews told police a specific story. She said they left the Marlbrook pub after 10 p.m. A dark Ford Sierra followed them aggressively. The driver tailgated their car along Cooper's Hill. Lee pulled over to let the vehicle pass, but the Sierra stopped as well. A passenger got out with staring eyes. He argued with Lee, then attacked him. Tracy claimed she stayed in the passenger seat. She said the stranger stabbed Lee repeatedly. The killer then fled in the Sierra. Tracy called emergency services after the attack. 2 days later, Tracy appeared on television. She had a black eye and stitches above her brow. Lee's mother, Maureen, sat beside her. His sister, Michelle, held Tracy's hand. Tracy described the attacker's staring eyes in detail. She begged the Sierra driver to come forward. She insisted the driver was not to blame. The appeal was emotional and seemingly heartfelt. It dominated British headlines for days. The public responded with sympathy and outrage. Road rage was a cultural fear in 1990s Britain. Tracy's story fit the narrative perfectly. Detective Inspector Steve Walters led the investigation. West Mercia police launched a massive manhunt. They searched for a dark Ford Sierra. Composite sketches were circulated across the region. Tip lines rang constantly with potential leads. But something troubled the experienced detective. Details in Tracy's story didn't quite add up. Then witnesses came forward with critical information. Simon Baker was a chartered accountant. Elaine Curthers was also a chartered accountant. They had driven Cooper's Hill on December 1st. They contacted police after seeing the television appeal. Their testimony was devastating to Tracy's narrative. Baker and Curthers saw Lee's car that night. They observed it reversing, then stopping completely. The Zigzag maneuver matched Tracy's description so far. But after passing Lee's stationary vehicle, they saw nothing. They drove miles along the same narrow road. No dark Ford Sierra appeared in either direction. No pursuing car of any kind was visible. No fleeing attacker passed them on the road. The mathematics were inescapable and damning. If Tracy's story were true, they would have seen the Sierra. They didn't see it because it never existed. The road rage attacker was a phantom. A child living near Cooper's Hill heard an argument. But the child reported hearing only two voices. One voice was soft and high-pitched. It sounded like a woman's voice. There were no multiple male voices as expected. No stranger had confronted Lee that night. Investigators examined blood patterns on Tracy's clothing. Her story claimed she remained in the passenger seat. She said she was merely an observer, but the blood spatter told a different story. The pattern indicated close proximity to Lee's neck wound. She had been standing near him when he was stabbed. Blood was concentrated at the vehicle's rear. This was inconsistent with her description of the attack. The physics of blood spatter cannot be faked. Between 80 and 100 strands of Tracy's hair were found. They were discovered near Lee's body. The hairs had been pulled out by the roots. Additional hairs were tangled in Lee's fingers. In his final moments, Lee had grabbed his attacker. He had fought desperately for his life. He tore hair from Tracy Andrews's head. Even dying, he left evidence of her guilt. No murder weapon was found at the scene. Detectives searched Tracy's belongings thoroughly. Inside her ankle boot, they found a blood stain. The shape was consistent with a Swiss Army knife. Tracy had hidden the weapon in her boot. She concealed it while emergency services arrived. She kept it hidden during initial police statements. Later investigation suggested she disposed of it at hospital. She likely dumped it in a bin during treatment. The injuries she sustained came from Lee's desperate struggle. She presented those injuries as proof of her story. Detectives investigated Lee and Tracy's relationship thoroughly. Witnesses described their romance as volatile and violent. The couple broke up repeatedly over 2 years. Arguments erupted over jealousy and perceived slights. Tracy had allegedly bitten Lee's neck during one fight. She had allegedly struck him during another dispute. Friends and family watched with growing concern. The pattern of violence had intensified over time. Everyone around them sensed an explosion was coming. Tracy's ex-partner, Andrew Tilston, spoke to police. He was the father of her daughter Carla. Their relationship had ended badly years earlier. Tilston told police Tracy once threatened him with a knife. That detail seemed minor at the time. It would take on terrible significance later. Police believed jealousy was the driving factor. The couple had argued constantly about perceived infidelity. Friends reported Tracy's intense jealousy of Lee. She couldn't bear the thought of him leaving. On December 1st, another argument likely erupted. This time, Tracy's rage became lethal. She stabbed Lee more than 30 times. Then she created an elaborate lie to cover her crime. If you're still watching, comment, "I'm still watching." Tracy Marguerite Andrews was born in Hereford and Worcester. Her parents separated when she was young. She grew up with her mother and stepfather, Alan Carter. She also lived with siblings and half-siblings. Tracy worked as a model in her teenage years. She sold cosmetics and perfume to support herself. She understood the power of controlling perceptions. At 21, she became pregnant by Andrew Tilston. Their relationship ended within a year of their daughter's birth. Tracy raised her daughter Carla alone in Alva Church. She met Lee Harvey in October 1994. They moved in, together within 3 months. Lee became a father figure to young Carla. But behind closed doors, the relationship was violent. Tracy's jealousy poisoned their interactions constantly. The couple broke up and reconciled repeatedly. Physical confrontations became increasingly common and alarming. The two accountants destroyed Tracy's alibi completely. Their testimony proved no Sierra existed that night. The blood spatter evidence placed Tracy at the killing. The hair evidence proved she had fought with Lee. The blood stain in her boot revealed weapon concealment. Witness statements about their violent relationship established motive. The child's testimony proved only 2 people were present. Every element of Tracy's story fell apart under scrutiny. Detective Inspector Walters had built an overwhelming case. Tracy Andrews was arrested for Lee Harvey's murder. She was charged on December 10, 1996, 9 days after killing her fiancé. Her trial took place in July 1997. It was held at Birmingham Crown Court. The prosecution presented the forensic evidence in detail. They showed the blood spatter patterns on her clothing. They presented the hair found in Lee's hands. They called Simon Baker and Elaine Curthers as witnesses. The accountant's testimony was devastating to the defense. Tracy maintained her road rage story throughout the trial. She insisted a stranger had killed Lee. She wept in the dock as evidence was presented. But the jury saw through her performance. On July 29, 1997, the verdict came. Tracy Andrews was found guilty of murder. The jury rejected her road rage story entirely. Mr. Justice Butterfield presided over the sentencing. He described the killing as brutal and frenzied. He noted the elaborate lie she created afterwards. Tracy Andrews received a life sentence for murder. The judge recommended she serve a minimum 14 years. She was 27 years old at sentencing. Tracy Andrews appealed her conviction unsuccessfully. She maintained her innocence for several years. In 2005, she finally admitted guilt. She confessed to killing Lee Harvey during an argument. Tracy claimed she acted in self-defense during the fight. That claim was rejected by authorities. The evidence showed a frenzied, prolonged attack. 37 stab wounds cannot be explained as self-defense. Tracy Andrews served 12 years in prison. She was released on license in 2011. She was given a new identity upon release. The terms of her license included strict conditions. She was prohibited from contacting Lee's family. She was required to report to probation regularly. Her release sparked controversy across Britain. Lee's family opposed her early release publicly. They felt justice had not been adequately served. Tracy Andrews changed her name after release. She attempted to rebuild her life away from scrutiny. In 2017, media outlets identified her. She was living under a new identity with a partner. She had reportedly had another child. The revelation caused public outrage and debate. Lee's family spoke out about their ongoing grief. They said Tracy had never shown genuine remorse. Maureen Harvey spoke publicly about her son's death. She described the pain of losing Lee. She said Tracy's television appeal was a betrayal. Maureen had held Tracy's hand during that press conference. She believed Tracy was a grieving victim. Learning the truth destroyed her completely. Michelle Harvey also spoke about her brother's murder. She said the family would never recover. The elaborate lie made their grief unbearable. Tracy had not only killed Lee, she had manipulated his family's grief for her own purposes. Lee Harvey died on a Worcestershire lane on December 1st, 1996. Please subscribe, like, and share this video. Thank you for watching.